Y'all be acting up because everybody knows fat people can give. Wow, what's up, rebels? My name's Willie. I am one half of Leo and Willie. We are engaged, we are queer, and today I am here to discuss fat phobia within the LGBTQAI community. I'm so hyped to be back. I took a month off, and thank you so much for your grace and patience of me getting out Deep Dive Part 2 whilst I took a month off. It's really, really good. I went to the UK, I went to New York, I saw Broadway shows, awesome, had a great time, and now I'm back and we're here to discuss some important things within our community. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today is just going to be a conversation. We're just going to talk. So if at any point you're like, I feel differently, or I want to add to this, pause me, just pause me and write something in the comment section, and I promise I will be getting back to the comments. So this is a conversation. Get relaxed, get calm, get cozy. I thought it would be a good one to discuss fat phobia because it's so rampant in our community. So rampant. What do I mean when I say fat phobia? Do I mean the literal fear of big people like me? Are you scared we are going to eat you, munch? No, of course not. I mean people who are bigger being disrespected or treated less than within our community because they are of a larger size. Y'all be acting up because everybody knows fat people can give. At the moment, we are seeing fat phobia increase within our community. There are content creators within our community like Blair White, Ariel Scarcella, for example, who will openly body shame people who are bigger than they are. Comments like these ones.
Yes, we know that you are forever hungry. We saw that without the shirt. I don't think you really needed that to tell us.
Have become commonplace. Fat. Let's discuss the word fat. Fat, the adjective, used to describe someone's size. If they are bigger, some may use the BMI, a very outdated concept, by the way. We can discuss that later. For those of you who don't know what the BMI is, it stands for the Body Mass Index, which essentially measures your height versus weight, categorizing you into one of four things: underweight, average, overweight, or obese. I believe it was started in the 19th century and it became popular in the 70s. The reason why some people say it's problematic, I'm one of some people, is because it doesn't really measure the muscle to fat ratio, and muscle weighs a lot. So someone like The Rock, for example, may be considered obese by the BMI standard, but he's obviously quite fit. I think that that's an issue, especially when Black people in particular have larger bones, larger muscles. And so it's standardizing and it's all pushing and leaning towards a Eurocentric standard of beauty. There's a pattern here, isn't there? But like I aforementioned, there are LGBT content creators who are putting out content about people who are bigger and fat shaming them.
I thought her getting top surgery didn't make any sense. And it doesn't look good due to her being a bit chubby.
Sorry if this video is scatty, it's just a conversation. It's not really like drawn out and planned. I'm literally just talking to you. Very scatty. I'm feeling scatty. Scoop, doop, 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 da-da. Yeah, you will have these content creators like Blair and Ariel talking about people who are bigger, and I think it's worth discussing, right? It's worth discussing because I think it's fair to say that when you have, let's say, skinnier content creators saying obesity is a crisis, it's like, okay, calm down, stop judging me as I sit there with my full fat coat. I'm not saying if you're skinny you shouldn't have an opinion, absolutely not, but when you are linked to having quite toxic viewpoints and the way in which you deliver these viewpoints can be quite negative and impact the people you're speaking about in a very negative way, it draws to different conclusions. No fats, no femmes, no Asians. And I think there's a version where it switches out Asians for Blacks as well. It's something that was really rampant in the gay community. Like with people's chests, they would put this on their profile saying, I don't want to date anyone who is fat, femme, or Black or Asian. And it would just be like, yeah, cool. Like just say I only want white people. It would be, it would define your personality a lot quicker. So These content creators say there is an obesity crisis, and is there an obesity crisis? Yes, there is. The reason why I'm confirming that is because I know that some people watch our channel and we might have younger audiences, and there are certain things that a lot of content creators say that are harmful and often false, but the fact that we have an obesity crisis is not one of them. So Blair saying it in her toxic ways because she's toxic, but it doesn't mean that she's lying, is what I'm essentially saying. There is an obesity crisis. There is also a poverty crisis. I say that not to divert, but because I don't believe that one should be named without the other. I think the reason why a lot of these LGBT content creators speak about the obesity crisis without really talking about the poverty crisis is because they are wrapped up in a lot of privilege. Sounds about right. It's really easy for these toxic LGBT content creators to judge with their videos bringing in thousands to judge people who are in lower socio-economical backgrounds who are relying on whatever they can get just to sustain themselves. I think it's really easy to judge from that perch. Well, no, I don't think it's really easy. I think it's really easy to judge when you're just that type of person. So let me just remove that. Inexpensive meals can be incredibly unhealthy. There are corporations like McDonald's, KFC that can afford to lower their prices and do family bucket meals because they're corporations who rely on these people to spend there because that's all they can afford. It's a catch-22. You only have enough to afford the crap. You feel like crap, so you want the crap. And I feel like that's very nuanced. I'm not saying that's why everybody is fat. Of course not. I'm fat because I like chicken. But I think it's super important that when you bring these issues to light, that you also speak about the different things that branch off that are just as relevant, just as important, and are a contributing factor to the main issues. And poverty is a big one. It's class, it's racism, it's the African American nuclear families that were destroyed by the government who are in this cycle of poverty, who rely on quick, easy, cheap, yes, sometimes that means unhealthy, to feed their families, to feed themselves. And so there needs to be grace, there needs to be nuance there. Just saying you're fat, doesn't really identify the issue, it doesn't really deal with the problem. And also, fat's not fat can be sexy. Fat is sexy. Fat is smart. Fat is beautiful. Essentially, it's a descriptor. Fat, however, in history, in media, has been portrayed in not so positive ways. When you think of fat people in media, you tend to think of funny friends or the person who's the butt of everyone's joke, the best friend, the comic relief. Often when people are big in media, their size is heavily attributed to the character. So they're not just a big person existing within the world created by a writer. They are a big person who is big, and their bigness is very, very critical to their identity, their story, and how we view them. I think things like that play a part in general, just in how fatphobia can be perpetuated and can be more heavily accepted in community because it's so heavily put out in our media, which we all access. Now, in the spirit of keeping things that I like to do on here authentic and open, I would like to discuss very openly and unfiltered some of the perceived notions people have about people who are overweight. You like food, you lack discipline. Lacking discipline is a big one because it's if you aren't able to commit to the gym, committing to the body that you are in. That's what people believe. This is your body, look after it. If you can't commit to that, you don't have any discipline, period. There's no other negating factors that could be influencing that. That's just point blank, period, for some people. Hygiene, maybe, depending on how big the person is. Sometimes the bigger someone is, the more sweat they will excrete. So hygiene, if they're bigger, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I think I could keep going, but I think we're getting what we're talking about. Now, some of the reasons people actually might be big. Overeating, mental health, physical health, PCOS, all those things falling into the sort of like physical health. etc. Now, the reason why I started with overeating as a reason why some people might be big is because not everybody says I'm big because I have insert a number of reasons to justify why I exist in the body that I do. I am big because I overeat. That's what science tells me leads to my body looking this way, so that's why I'm big. There are a load of reasons, and regardless of which ones they are, whichever body you exist in, whichever body you have to wake up in, that body deserves to be alive, that body deserves to be there. Which I understand is why some people on the other end are like, hey, because you deserve to be here, we care about your health, and that's why we're saying these things, because you should be healthier, you should be smaller, because for some people, small automatically equals healthy, which for the record isn't true. Nobody is disputing the fact that being obese is unhealthy. There are many illnesses linked to being overweight, diabetes is just one of them. And so from a medical position, of course, someone that you love showing you concern if they feel like you are in a very, very bad position may be a private conversation to have. I don't personally believe that's the same thing as these clout chasing content creators who are just trying to shame people for not fitting a mold, a very binary mold that most people don't actually fit in. I do genuinely think there is a shift in narrative, and I don't mean a shift in let's all be obese now. I do want to identify that we are making waves towards being better. I definitely see big people being highlighted more. I definitely see big people appearing in media more, and not just to be, you know, the comical relief. But still issues, do you know what I mean? But anyways, fat people being sexy. Insert me. I do think that because of media and because of the portrayal and because of the extra steps that that character has to take to be seen and validated, it does create societal standards of that being the case for all fat people. Like, I think if people were to go, Willie, Leo, which one of you have dated more? Like, without thinking, everyone would be like, Leo, because he's so close to conventional beauty, and also he's just sexy as fuck. I miss him. But there is this assumption, right, that it'll be harder for me to be accepted as beautiful. It'll be harder for me to go through being black, being fat, being queer, and all these things in between. When in reality, just me and Leo as an example, I get bitches. And I feel like there's this shock when big people are confident and we're like, no, I didn't need to laugh you into bed. I got you because I'm fucking sexy. Human beings, we are in all these different shades, all these different colors, all these different sizes, and to assume that someone who goes beyond that line cannot be deemed as sexy and desirable is ridiculous. If that's the case for yourself, that's fine. Some people may have preferences of, you know what, for me personally, I'm about this gym lifestyle. I need someone to meet me in the gym. Do you, boo? Like, a fat person who doesn't want to go to the gym won't match with you anyway. Like, I ain't trying to see you at the gym every single day. But someone like, for example, me and Leo, I don't feel like Leo went out of his way. I don't feel like it's charity case for him loving me and accepting me in the size that I am. Lucky Leo for being able to get me. I don't know why people would assume that big people don't have that confidence. If you don't have that and actually you don't resonate with me at all, and you're like, no, I do resonate with being, you know, introverted. I am struggling with my self-love. I am drowned by all these messages within my community, outside of my community, telling me that I don't, you know, I'm not validated here. I think it's okay to be at that place too, by the way, because that's a place that you will not stop at. You are going to get past that. And it does come with accepting yourself. You flex a little different when you love you. You smile a little different when you love you. Nobody else can make you smile the way you can make you smile. Like, you have to feel super happy inside for someone to even get that chance to penetrate and like add to that, you know what I mean? And so for me, it comes from a place of self-love. It's like, I have got up this morning, and also trigger warning, depression. I have been someone who has been open about, like, I struggle with my mental health. I'm alive. So this body that I have, it's keeping me alive today. It gets me to where I need to go. It allows me to love my fiance. It allows him to love me. It does everything it needs to do. Like, I'm here. And that's enough. And that's more than enough. So I need to love this body that I'm in. And yeah, that does mean eating my greens. Oh my gosh, I've got to show you. I got a new plate. One sec. I had to get a dishwasher. I got this plate. I got this plate because I'm not gonna lie, I don't do well at eating my greens really. And it's like, this will help me more with like portion control of like, Willie, chill out. You know what I mean? You don't need the whole kebab, darling. You don't need the whole one, not yet. I've got that. So I do believe that as humans, we should be loving our body and looking after it, but we need to have grace for those who aren't in a position to. When I put on like my most rapid weight recently is when I was on antidepressants, and my doctor told me, you are gonna put on a lot of weight. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, at this point, I'm like, I'm just happy that I actually want to be alive again. So, all right. And he was like, when it does hit you though, please still focus on this one first. Like, this can happen. This is a work in progress. You can continue to work on this. You need to make sure that you want to be here first. And I think that's super important to remember, that there are different ways There are different things in people's lives that impact and create who they are, and all those things are valid. How they look like is probably one of the least relevant ones, I believe anyway. We're all different people. I'm so sorry. I've been getting emails. Oh, she busy. Within the community, fat phobia is very rampant, but it for me, it still seems to fall quite heavily on like the people who tend to police how people look in general. Like, I wouldn't be super like, oh, if a trans medicalist was like, I'm also fat phobic, I'd be like, yeah, checks out. You know what I mean? I think the standard of beauty in the queer community is really evolving. I see so many like different colors and hair textures and body sizes being celebrated and really put on that pedestal that they deserve to be on. And it's been really cool to see. And I think we need more of that. I think we need more of that. I think we need to see more big representation, LGBTQ representation that aren't in stories because they're big. For them to be loved, for them to be in love stories without it being like, oh, you love me even though I like food? Like, what the hell is that, bro? Just fucking love me? Like, why do I need all this? It's just stupid. And I think people need to see that, especially young people, because you are who you are, and trying to rapidly change who you are to conform to something is dangerous in any way. You know what I mean? There are a lot of things being promoted on TikTok, a lot of dangerous medications being promoted. I'm not saying the medications themselves aren't like FDA approved. I'm just saying that in the wrong hands or with the wrong mentalities and with underdeveloped minds can create eating disorders, and it's not worth it. If you are on a journey of trying to get fit, a journey of trying to get skinny, I'm getting fitter, so come join me. I'll be showing you some videos soon. But a journey of trying to get fit, you need to still remember that the body that you're in now still deserves love, and you're still beautiful here. I love myself when I'm skinny. I love myself when I'm fat. I love myself when I'm in between. I love myself in all of them. And if I don't love myself, there's a bigger issue there, and it's not my weight. You know, there has to be a bigger issue. And I think that's what we need to be putting out. If you're in the community and you have friends who are like, oh, ugh, and commenting on people's weight, call them out. Call them out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, call them out. Do your bit and make sure that you have friends around you who can also feel like they are beautiful if they aren't skinny. It's important to create those safe places for people to just exist. And your friend doesn't exist to be your comic relief. They don't exist to be your huge support and the extra strong one. And sometimes people who take up most space want to still be small. They still want to be the little spoon. They still want to be taken care of. They still want to be the princess or the prince. You know what I mean? Because size sometimes can equate to like power, like, oh, you're so big, so I know you got you. And sometimes it's about relieving that energy and allowing people to feel small even if they look bigger. Why do I think fat phobia takes place in our community specifically? I think it takes place everywhere. To be honest with you, it does. And why it's heightened in our community is because there is such and you would find this mainly in, honestly, right-wing leading content creators. There is such a, I don't know, this line that it's so defined for them, that's so binary in how you should look to be perceived and respected and validated, which I think is ridiculous. We did a deep dive on Marcus, the offensive T, the offensive twat, and you'll see him even mention like, I'm so glad that Denmark doesn't operate on big people, so that we can all be skinny trans people. And it's like, what? And the truth is that is the case. In some cases, you aren't allowed top surgery depending on your weight because fat guys don't exist, apparently. I don't know what. Fat masks don't exist. It's okay. And so there are a lot of things within our community that actually do create that separation. And a lot of people in media, you know, Heartstopper, these two characters were centered, and the main character is generally quite slim and twinky. And, you know, you have these two characters and they're blowing up, and don't get me wrong, there is diversity in that show. But when you're focused on most of these shows and movies are people who look exactly the same every single time, people who don't look like that start to feel they're not deserving of that love. They start to feel they're not deserving of those stories, of that respect, of the trauma, of the chaos, of everything that comes with love and drama, you know? Yeah, I think that's why it's rampant and why it does exist within our community, because it exists everywhere. And we as a society don't do enough to challenge it. We don't do enough to represent happy, big, sexy ass people like myself. Ugh. Also, we should call people like Blair White out. Blair White, Errol Scarcella, the Offensive T, who literally made fun of another trans dude who has been open about having an eating disorder and called him a little bit chubby. I do that because that was his little quotations with it. And I'm just like, these things aren't okay. You don't get to make someone feel bad for waking up in the body they are. All comes down to basic respect, just in general, is knowing that someone should never have to look a certain way to deserve respect. Never. And someone isn't less than because they are bigger. That's stupid. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate your love, your support. It means the world to us. Thank you for holding Leo down on my break. You had him. You had him. Group effort. It takes a family. Girl!